Well, it's my first fourth as an American, and I couldn't be more proud. As you know, if you're a regular viewer, a couple of months ago, I became a US citizen, and I'm so happy to be celebrating this very special day with all of you, my fellow Americans. And while that's still a new thing for me to be saying, the reality is I felt like this was my home for years, ever since we crossed the pond and moved to California nearly a decade ago. The truth is, the more I've learned about America, the more I love America. The more I've learned about our history, our culture, and our traditions, the more I appreciate that there is no better place on earth and no better model for the rest of the world. Not perfect, but working towards that more perfect union every day. That's why I was so offended by what Jen Psaki said at the podium in the White House a few days ago on behalf of the President of the United States in response to that athlete disrespecting our flag and our anthem. Psaki said, it's okay to disrespect the flag because America hasn't always lived up to our highest ideals. What a ludicrous, shallow, and divisive thing to say. Of course, we haven't always lived up to our highest ideals. Those ideals are pretty high. You might even say unattainable. The whole point is that they serve as a unifying aspiration for the whole nation. And let's get specific, because we know what Jen Psaki was really talking about. It was race. And of course it's true that still, today, there is far too much racial injustice in this country. But even as we acknowledge that, can anyone name a single country on earth that offers more opportunity to those from any race and any background than America? Where do these people like Jen Psaki, so quick to denigrate America, where do they think is a better place to live if you're black or Latino or Asian or anyone who isn't an evil, racist white person? Why do these athletes, these activists, these self-hating talking heads on TV who run around casually smearing the one country, their own country, that welcomes more immigrants, more refugees, and gives them more chances than any other place in the world? Why do they think those millions of people, yes, still the tired, the poor, the huddled masses yearning to breathe free, why do they want to come here to America if this country is so racist? So irredeemably, structurally racist. My parents grew up under communism in Hungary. My stepfather, also Hungarian, literally escaped across the border during the 1956 revolution. Yeah, they had a border wall. It was to keep people in. America needs a border wall to keep people out because too many people, black, brown, all races from all over the world, want to come here. Does that sound like a place to be ashamed of? Of course not. It's something to be incredibly proud of. The fact that this country is the #1 choice for anyone seeking opportunity. And when people do come here in the legal way, it's the only place in the world that truly, fully welcomes everyone into the national family on equal terms. You can move to Britain, but they'll never consider you British. Not really. Try becoming a French citizen, see if they'll let you call yourself French. Or China, forget about it. Who wants to move to China anyway? There's a reason they don't have a border crisis, and it's not a good one. But here, anyone can become an American. I just did. Because being American isn't just about the physical space we inhabit, but the ideas we represent, the ideas that America was built on, the ideas that every American, old or new, should proudly support. The ideas expressed in our magnificent founding documents, the ideas we celebrate today. So, as a new citizen, I'm not here to try and turn America into the place I left, but to help preserve and protect and defend what makes America special. There's a reason this country is so successful. There's a reason our enemies fear us and our allies want to be us, because they know the power of the Constitution, which guarantees freedoms and rights that are the basis of everything America has achieved. Right at the heart of it, the principle of decentralized power, checks and balances, separation of powers, federalism, limits on the concentration of power. That's why I've argued we should pay more attention to the 10th Amendment. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states, respectively, or to the people. Power to the people. That's what creates the American spirit, to pursue the American dream, taking risks, chasing success. That's rewarded here, not punished or looked down upon. You don't see it so much in England. You didn't see it at all in the far left system my parents escaped from in communist Hungary. But today, the Constitution, the American spirit, and the American idea is under attack. Under attack from the concentration of power in the hands of big tech. Our power to say what we think, what we can read and see and hear, censoring information that challenges the establishment narrative, the technocrats' groupthink, the tech titans' preferred politicians whose pockets they've stuffed with cash to do their bidding. The American idea is under attack from big government. I'm not sure people have woken up to the sheer scale of what is being planned in Washington right now. They really are plotting to turn America into a European-style welfare state. Most of the population dependent on the government, massive taxes to pay for it, an unprecedented expansion of the federal bureaucracy, emboldened by the pandemic power grabs of the lockdown lunatics. They're exploiting the crisis they created to unleash an army of interferers and busybodies and micromanagers, centralizing power over all our lives in a way that's not just unacceptable, but unconstitutional. Home health care, child care and parental leave, community college. We can argue about whether government should be providing these things, but there's no question that the federal government shouldn't. The Constitution is clear. These are matters for the states and for the people. Our American idea is under attack from China too, pulling the strings of Hollywood, corporate America and the establishment media to subvert American interests and grow their power. The wretched CEO of Nike, John Donahoe, gave the game away. We are a brand that is of China and for China. Don't these useful idiots understand? Don't they bother to read what Chinese leaders say? Xi Jinping and his rotten, corrupt crew have told us very clearly their goal is to topple America as the world's superpower by 2049, the 100th anniversary of the People's Republic. A world run on the values of this evil authoritarian regime is a nightmare. Look what they're doing already. Genocide, torture, an Orwellian tech-enabled system of social control, all of it now being exported through their neo-colonialist international adventurism. We have to fight back. And it starts with a total decoupling of our economies. We must strike at the foundation of China's rise, the advantages we gave them by sending so much of our economy there. And of course, the American idea is under attack from wokeism, the hateful, intolerant ideology that has captured the most powerful institutions in America, from the boardroom to the Oval Office, the culmination of a 100-year war on faith, family, and culture, hijacking our language, turning Americans against each other, pushing hate and division and intolerance and racism. In any case, as I've pointed out many times on this show, the main driver of racial injustice in America today is not racist white people from the 18th century, but race-obsessed Democrats pushing policies that hurt Black and Latino Americans the most, and it's conservative ideas like strong families and school choice that offer the best prospect of achieving what we all want to see, equal opportunity for every American regardless of race. So, on this July the 4th, as we emerge from a year that tested our limits, remember who we are as Americans and what we stand for. This country's future is bright as long as we get off our knees and defend it from those seeking to destroy it. So, break up big tech, decentralize big government, take on China, and defeat wokeism. That's the next revolution we need.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.